Everybody, welcome to the show. We've got Andrew from REDX and Dan from Orlando. We're going to be talking about your dialogue, your script, your skills that you need to be really honing and practicing and actually thinking about more. And what better person to do it than Dan? Dan's a pro at this. He's actually got a studio where we're at. He wanted to change into something more comfortable. I think I need to send him a t-shirt. Dan, I need to send you a t-shirt.
You do.
That's
and I need a REDX shirt as well.
Yeah, likewise. We'll send you a couple.
Hey, Andrew, I don't have a REDX shirt. Dude, now that I thought
you don't?
I need a REDX.
We're gonna get you decked out in a whole REDX wardrobe. We'll give you a 3-piece suit.
Andrew, not only do I need a REDX shirt, when I was just in the studio doing some content, we were talking about REDX. So how about that? So
I love it.
It was today's
Dude,
topic.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to talk about REDX. I did a whole 10 things you need to do now to get listings, and like half of them were use REDX. So,
We'd love to hear that.
Well, let's get right into it, man.
Okay.
And how long have you been in business, and what does your business structure look like? And then we'll get into the scripting and skills.
Sure. I got into business in 1987. As I shared with you guys offline, I came out of law enforcement. Just got fed up with some politics in there and decided to get into real estate. Went and got my license, wrote a business plan. And so when I left law enforcement, it was St. Patrick's Day, 1987. I jumped into the business, had to do a year here in Florida to get my broker's license, but I had venture capital behind me to open my company. Ooh. So I knew I was going to open up a real estate company. So 14 months later, May of the next year, I opened up a company. And Tristan, the truth of the matter is I didn't know what I was doing. I did not have skills. I didn't have mastery. And so I starved the first year as an agent. I opened up a company. No one follows me. And literally I start a company with a secretary and myself. And I always tell people I did have one agent. It was my fiance. And we broke up and she left. So it was a real sad story when I got started. And so very quickly, my investors threatened to fire me, and I realized I had to figure some things out. And so that turned me towards, professional skill. I love our industry, 33 years now in it. But what I found very quickly was that we have too many people that kind of know our business and not enough that master it. Mm. And I was following the kind of know it. So I stepped away from real estate. I did some deep dives into, Zig, into some of the pros of sales. And I brought that back and I started building a company, and I ended up building a highly profitable company that was one of the top listing companies around at the time. And then I sold it. And as soon as I sold it, people started to ask would I help them in this business. So I've spent 22 years doing coaching, executive coaching, business consulting and management with people, and how to turn either an agent, a team, or a company into a sustainable profit center. So that's the little background.
That's pretty awesome, man. Congratulations on that. So are you still practicing real estate, or do you have a team or brokerage still, or no?
I do it on occasion. I had a building company for 13 years. I started another real estate company with that, just to be my, the arm for us to purchase, but also for our model homes and things. But I just dove back in just this past couple months, selling a house, a house I built my mom. I put on the market and sold. So I got to engage this crazy market, and then getting a sister into a house and then selling a sister's home. So of late, I went back at it, and it's crazy. You got to have skills right now. There's so much wasted time and energies out there that it was crazy.
Nice, dude. All right. So tell me the quick relationship with REDX, how you got involved with REDX, since Andrew is here, right?
Well,
yeah, let's hear it.
It was one of my trainers years and years ago, Dan Black, had come across the REDX group and then introduced us, the training academy, my company, into them. And being a skill guy and a listing guy, there's few organizations that I literally, if you go on our site, there's very few partners, and it's not that there aren't some good ones out there. I'm just very specific about driving either a balanced business or a listing side business if you want to be sustainable. So I like their products. They've been responsive if we ever had a question or a challenge. And because of that, we've been working with them for, gosh, many, many years now.
Love to hear it. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Nice, man. All right. So good training. You went back to study leaders, to study processes, to study systems, to put it all into play. And that's super key, man. You know, I'm reading you just reminded me of this because I'm reading this book called, let me just show you, just in case you want to read it, you'll like it. So it's called Working Backwards. It's two guys that worked at Amazon. One of them worked directly with Jeff Bezos as his like right-hand guy. And it's going into these just leadership principles, processes, systems. So when you look at real estate this way, what comes to mind? Like what are we missing as agents? Let's start with that.
Sure. I have a couple quotes every year I share with all my clients. And my quote for 2021 is to never forget that our habits are stronger than our knowledge. 2020 has been a year that has created urgency in the marketplace. You know, literally multitasking urgency availability has become the task or the skill of the day. The problem with that is that we've lost a lot of our professional processes and the skills behind those. So I'm all about, can we take a step back? And I call it old school with new school twists. You know, the most important thing for a real estate professional today is a professional appointment. You know, Tristan, if you want to do something and I don't take the time to properly vet you, ask you questions, learn about your needs, a really good friend of mine who I speak on main stages with all over the world said one day, remember, treatment before diagnosis is malpractice. I think we have a lot of that going on. You know, whenever I talk to agents in the companies I coach and they give me their challenges, I can usually, you know, take that book that you just talked about. I can usually post-mortem, take them backwards and find if they would have followed the process that they know, but they don't follow, they would have solved the problem before it occurred. So, you know, when it comes to a listing, you know, people aren't differentiating anymore because how quick the market's going. So they're being commoditized and they're losing GCI because they're commoditized. They're using fees instead of winning differences to differentiate. And so there's a process to get the listing. There's a process to take a buyer through to make sure that you have a buyer that can compete in this crazy market. And if we're doing it backwards, if we're getting out there and then learning what we should have done, all that capacity, all that time, you can never get back. It's gone. So getting agents, you know, and we're, like I said, we're a heavy skill company. I'm about to release a brand new 8-week accountable skill program from our side through a learning management system. So it's on demand, bring people back to, hey, what if we did it this way? What if we went back to these principles? You know, how much more money could we make and how much free time could we have?
That's interesting, man. You know what it is? I think it's a challenge for most agents because they're so reactionary because they don't come from a business background, right? I had to stumble my way into all this.
As did I.
I mean, dude, we're like, how do you do this, right? After screwing up a whole bunch of times?
Yes.
And so I love that you say, hey, look, there's a process to this. And I think once you implement the process, that's when we start fearing the Zillows and the Open Doors and the CoStar.
Well, let's talk about that a moment. Okay. That drives me batty. You know, having the mindset of scarcity scares the crap out of us. Having an abundant mindset, knowing that you can get your market share regardless. As I said offline with you, it takes a complement of skills. You can't just have some lead gen or something. If you don't have a full complement of skills, if you don't know how to value proposition as a skill, if you don't know how to vet people properly and do discovery properly, you know, if those things aren't in order, then you're going to fear. You're going to fear every time somebody comes to market. I don't fear them. I never fear them. If anything, they motivate me because I truly know that we're better. The problem is, have I learned how to convey that? Do I have the skills of communication to convey the value proposition to make that person think twice? And that's a challenge for me. And you talk about, you know, people stop doing things out of fear. I always talk about the fear of loss. You know, how many times will someone know they should do something? Perfect example, you know, vetting a buyer right now. I'll have agents tell me, Dan, it's too hot of a market. I can't bring them in. I can't do an initial appointment. There's too much going on. Okay. 2 minutes later in the conversation, my deal fell apart. You know, my buyer didn't know about this, wasn't, I went, wow. So if you would have done the proper pre-work, you would have educated, you would have prepared, and everything you just are dealing with now, taking you out of the game, would have never occurred. And, you know, I go back to treatment before diagnosis is malpractice, and we do a bunch of it sometimes.
That's because we're in a world that requires, like, for most people, like instant gratification. So they like want to know what to do before they even know what the process involves, right?
You mean the agent or the customers here?
I think the agent themselves, right?
So let's look at that a second, Tristan, because there's a little what do you want to call it? Something we all do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's a term I use. We all tend to sell the way we buy. So if you think about that, we will impose our own fears or concerns into our clients, and we'll all tend to sell the way we buy. Well, the problem is with 4 personality types and all the variations of that, the way you do things is probably an irritant to most people you're talking to.
Yeah.
And so to fall in love with the way you do things and not learning, you know, personality traits and how to communicate properly between them, all these little fears start to come, you know, around. And I'll give you an example. I just was talking, I told you I re-engaged in real estate just recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out and took a look at a house or a condo I was trying to get my sister into, and I previewed it. Well, when's the last time an agent previewed something in a hot market? You know, I went and previewed it. I previewed it because I wanted to make sure it fit my sister and that I could close her on it and that I could make it happen. And there was 2 other agents there with some people. So I engaged them and I got talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And all I heard out of the 2 agents was their fears, you know, and how they would do it. Cause I said, I told them, I said, no, I'm previewing this. I said, I'll be bringing my sister by. And they both were like, how can you preview? You don't have time to preview. I'm so busy. I can't. As soon as I heard I was so busy, I asked this simple question. I went, wow. So you're probably carrying bags of money to the bank right now. Both of them said, oh God, no, we're struggling. Ooh. And I said, how can you be busy and be struggling? And so I ended up standing there for an hour and coaching them because I felt so bad. I was like, you know, this is those fears. This is, again, not having mastery of the business, the processes in place, the complement of skills. You know, it's kind of like if you went to play golf and you only had 2 of the 20 skills necessary to play golf, it'd be a miserable round of golf. You know, if you tried to go hit a tennis ball and you had no skill to hit a tennis ball, you'd stop playing very quickly. Well, I say the same thing with agents. If the job's getting hard and frustrating, you probably don't have a complement of skills. Therefore, you're not enjoying it.
That's true, man. That's true. You bring up something there, and that's confirmation bias. I love where your brain is at, because that's the way we see the world, right? We see the world in the way that we function, and we're just confirming our biases by saying, oh, you know what? That's just how everybody functions, because look at this, look at that, look at that. No. So I love that you brought that up. You also brought up an abundant mindset. And then one of the books that's great on this is Simon Sinek's book on The Infinite Game.
Yep.
Where he says, look, competition is out there, right? He calls them rivals. And it is exactly what you said. It's time to use that, you know, your rivals, to differentiate what you do, yes. Right? Don't look at it in fear. So I love that, man. That's so good. And so often, I mean, Andrew, you probably see the same thing when you guys have thousands of people using REDX, where they come in and say, well, how can I compete with this agent who's already got this area down, right? There's just not enough, right?
Right.
Are all these numbers going up to all the agents here, right?
Mm-hmm. They find excuses. They look for excuses. They plant them. They use that confirmation bias to operate on their excuses rather than just trying. Forming the habit. Back to what Dan said, habits are stronger than knowledge. They've got all this knowledge, but they're not making the habits to make it work.
Right. And the thing is, you know, to that point, Andrew, that they don't even, you know, habits happen unconsciously. They don't even realize it.
Right.
And, you know, whenever I catch somebody, I like to role play with people. And when I catch them in a role play and they do something completely counter to what they just talked about, I'll just stop and go, why did you do that? Mm-hmm. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, you just said this and did that. Why? And they're like, and then they get a little nervous, but I go, no, I'm trying to help you. I go, your knowledge was correct, but your action right now just would have gotten you in trouble or lost a transaction or cost you time and effort. You know, I told you, I've got 6 sisters. I got sisters all over the place. I've got another sister. I just referred to an agent, and she came back to me, and she knows me. She goes, okay, you're the guy that does this all the time. You train these people. Which should I ask? So I gave her 5 questions. Can I share those 5 questions I told her to ask the agent?
All right, get everybody get your pens and pencils out or whatever
Now,
you're writing with. Here we go.
Every agent that goes through our programs or been trained or coached by our team can answer these questions. So I said, make sure you ask her, this woman, after she gets going, you know, describe to me how you differentiate yourself from the other agents and companies in the marketplace. So that was the first question.
Dude, right down the line with Simon Sinek. There you go.
Second question I gave her, what benefits do we receive from your company and the affiliate that they have? They're affiliated with a company that are different from the marketplace. So I want them to look to their company and to their affiliation. How are you going to bring those winning differences to bear? 3, how do you evaluate multiple offers in this crazy market so we know we're making the decision with the best offer possible? 4, what are your methods to maximize the exposure of our property, even though the market's this hot? And 5, what value can you bring to us after the offer is accepted? And so I just gave these to my sister just before we came on, and her interview with the agent is tomorrow. And I'm very curious to hear her response. She's an executive at a big bank, so she's a businesswoman. I'm really interested. I got people asking, can I repeat those? I saw pop up.
Yes, but for sure.
Do you want to repeat them, or do we want to type them in, or what do you want to do?
No, go ahead and repeat them, dude.
Sure. First one was, how do you differentiate yourself from the other agents in the marketplace? What benefits will we receive from your company? I named the company, and the affiliate, I named their affiliation. They've got a global affiliation. 3, how do you evaluate multiple offers so we know we're accepting the best offer? And then 4, what are your methods to maximize the exposure of our property, even though the market is this hot? And then the 5th one, what value do you bring to us after the offer is signed? And, again, these are the things that are part of the core values of the training academy and all the programs. The program, they might hear it out there. The program that I teach is called Real Estate SWAT School. That's our heavy duty space learning, intensive program. It's because I was on our SWAT team when I was in law enforcement. I like the disciplines of SWAT. So we brought that into a program, and every SWAT agent can answer those questions, can stand up toe to toe with anybody and be able to differentiate, while leveraging like REDX to be their digital assistant to make sure they're always proactive and doing those right things.
I like that. Well, look, when you start asking questions like that, your business starts changing. Those are pretty powerful questions right there, man.
And if every agent listening right now can answer those questions without fear, it's going back to the competition stuff, without fear, to be able to differentiate, to be able to bring value to value proposition, that puts them in, top 1%. It's hard to say no to you if the playing field is level when I'm in front of a seller and I can handle something like these questions. I'm not going to lose. I'm going to beat the competition each and every time.
Dude, that makes a lot of sense. So you've got a set of questions that helps us differentiate ourselves and anticipate any possible question that may stump us, because I think you hit on the most important ones right now, right?
Yep.
What would you say is your focus on the dialogue? Do you have like a preset scripts just to guide us? How do you feel on that?
I do have scripts. And here's, again, with all the years of doing this and training and building content, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, agents tell me I don't do scripts. And I always laugh. One of my trainers that I had for years used to do the comparison to an actor. They would ask the open group of agents if they're in front of them, name an actor or an actress. They'd name some real famous actor. Are they successful? Yeah. Do they make a lot of money? Yeah. What do they do for a living? Well, they act. I said, no, they repeat scripts. And they go, what do you call someone that's bad at scripts in Hollywood? And he would say, you call them a waiter or a waitress.
I didn't think of that. That's funny.
So you talk about scripts, Tristan. Scripts are critical, but we have to own them. We have to get back to the time, the drilling, the time, the rehearsal. So the script becomes mine, but I don't lose the core values of the script, the important parts. So one of the things that we do to help people with scripts is we'll give them a talk track, but we give them an outline. Like let's say calling an expired, Andrew, first thing is identify them. I mean, literally, this is the script we give them. Identify yourself, determine if they still have a need, make an offer, and an alternative choice close for the appointment. And then I'm like, all you got to do is fill in those blanks, So I call and say, hey, Andrew. He says, yes. I go, this is Dan with Dan Elzer Realty. I noticed your home's no longer offered for sale. Did you still want to get it sold? I'm testing his still need. There's also, we call a thing rules of the game. Talk about some skills, Tristan. Rules of the game at our company means don't stop talking without a question. And you're not allowed to move on until you receive an answer. Because customers are good at changing the subject when we ask a good question.
Yes, they are.
So you have to have the skill of empathy and ask again. So if I ask Andrew, notice your home's no longer offered for sale. Did you still want to get it sold? And he goes, look, man, I'm tired of you agents. Well, the question was yes or no, and he didn't give me an answer. So I have to come back and go, I can appreciate your frustration, but the question was, did you still want to get the house sold? Well, yeah, but I don't care what he says after yeah, because now I've identified that he still has a need. So then I got to move on. Next thing's my offer, well, whatever offer you have that's, differentiating you in the marketplace to get in front of them. And to that, another thing we do wrong is we try to do too much over the phone. The number one thing that an agent should shoot for is an appointment, a professional appointment. When we, and I'll have agents that are heavy buyers say, well, I won't go on a listing appointment unless, I can interview them on the phone and they're really serious. And I go, is that getting you anywhere? Well, no, because they're not really serious. I go, no, they probably don't trust you. You're asking too many questions over the phone. Well, I'm not going to waste my time. And then I'll turn around and ask them, tell me about your buyer process. Well, I'm working with 15 people, of which 13 will never buy. And the 2 that are going to buy are probably going to leave me because I'm too busy for them. Now, they don't say it that way, but that's what's going on. So I'll go, so you'll give away your services for free on the buyer side, but you won't learn a proper approach on the list side because you think it's a waste of time. So we get into these goofy mindsets in real estate that really, 33 years drive me up the wall. That, this is not hard. This job is hard to create the new habits and skills, but it's the easiest job. I had a woman work for me. She was 82 years old, still killing it. When you do it right, you can do this job forever.
You know why, dude? We feel like we have to close quickly. We don't realize that you can't close quickly. You've got to, it's a step-by-step process for the most part. Sometimes you get lucky, right? But
you just said it, lucky, because things were in line for it to happen. But wouldn't it be better to know when it's ready?
Yes.
Can I share a couple of those too?
Please, man, please.
I always say that for the brain to make a decision, certain things have to be in order. And if you think about this, if you're truly risking capital to either sell a home or buy a home, you operate differently than someone who is looking or kicking tires. So immediately, we have to be able to differentiate. Someone who's not risking capital doesn't follow the norms of good skill sets. People that are risking capital have fears, concerns, and things of that need to be sorted out. So for you to make a decision, Tristan, if I'm working with you, I have to make sure I give you the ability to, 1, ask me tough questions. Now, agents either consciously or subconsciously try to stifle people that say negative things because we want people to be happy. I encourage you to ask a tough question. Second thing is I have to allow you to vent frustrations, whether they were past experiences, something you heard from a friend. that's lingering in your mind. I got to let you bring that out. I always talk about, I throw fuel on that fire. I really want to blow it up and have you share a whole bunch about what you're concerned with or afraid of because of the market. So I can then simply ask this question: how can we make sure that never happens to you, Tristan? Third one is, I have to be able to allow you to share your opinion. Everybody goes online and does their research.
Yep.
As real estate professionals know, we hear them say, well, I was on Zillow the other day, and we're like, oh God, here we go. Well, if I don't allow you to share that, I'll be in trouble. And then I have to have the skill of objection handling, because I've got to be ready for you to object to the solution I provide. If those four things are dealt with, and the importance of that is, if I don't deal with them, where do we keep that information during the sales process? If I don't let you ask a tough question, where do you store it? In your head. When I finally ask you, may I have your listing? You look up there and there's a problem that you weren't allowed to share. So what do you think customers say to us at that point? You know what?
Think about it.
Let me think about it. Problem is, I don't know what that's hiding now. But if I enter every relationship with the desire for those four things to come out and to be discussed, when I ask you to do business with me, you look up in your mind and it's all gone. And you're like, yeah, let's do this. But if I leave anything, you're going to either hesitate or give me think about it, and I won't know what the problem is. And by the way, when you're thinking about it, if you've been in the business long enough, you know, if I get think about it, that means a slow goodbye. You know, that doesn't mean you're going to call me back usually. So
That's very true, man. All right. So when it comes down to the market we're in, because geez, Florida is probably like the worst of all of them in regards to like multiple offers, properties
pretty
going on
crazy.
the market,
Pretty crazy.
sold. What would you suggest as agents we focus on so that we can get more business? Is this something that you're telling your clientele to be like, hey guys, let's do this and this and this, so you're focused and you can have more production this year?
You know, there's several answers to that, but the short one to that is the number one source of business to this day is our sphere. I keep hearing there's no inventory. Matter of fact, I had a company, one of my companies, send me stats going, look, you keep saying there's inventory, Dan. Here's our stats from the board. It says we're down 46%. And so I simply asked this question. I go, where are sales? He turned around and said, sales are up 70%. I said, then you have a market with more inventory than you've ever had in your life. And he's like, no, it's down 46%. I said, it's impossible. We're a one-to-one business. I can't have a sale without a listing and a buyer. The problem is it's not staying on the shelf. So what they're measuring is the turnover rate or the absorption rate. That's down 46% because it's not on the shelf. But you know what? There's more listings have hit the market in the last 12 months than ever in our entire history. The problem is, if you buy into the myth that there's no inventory, you wake up every day and you work with 80% of the agents on the buyer side to do half the sides. 20% of the people wake up, use REDX, do their proactive work, and go get listings. And 80% of the agents come try to sell them. Well, it's the same number on both sides. If there's 1,000 units in a marketplace, there's 2,000 sides. I got 80% of the people doing 1,000 sites and 20% of the people doing 1,000 sites. So how do I make sure that happens? It's the discipline to wake up every morning and work your sphere. Give it an hour. Give it an hour and a half. I call it shadow inventory. There is inventory out there. There's still people afraid of COVID, uncertain of what is the protocols. You know, should I let people in my house? And the only person that's going to solve that problem is a professional agent that meets someone, learns their needs, and can solve that problem. But if we're waiting to order take inventory for someone to call us and say, I'm ready to sell, you're going to be in that 80%, you know, not getting business. So literally my clients, I've been saying, give me an hour a day, 5 days a week to do something proactively with your sphere, and do it for 3 months in a row. And I'll bet you money you have inventory at the end of that 3 months that you would have never had you not done that.
So let's dive deeper on that, because I agree with you. What would a week look like? Like, let's just break it down into a day, into that hour that you said. All right, I'm going to call my sphere. This is what it looks like. This is the message. Am I calling, texting, emailing? What are the details?
Sure. I think the greatest, I call it COVID canvassing. I think the greatest call that you can make in today's world to show empathy and concern for people is to call every single person you've ever done business with, family, friend, acquaintance, past customer, and start it like this. I call you, let's role play. Okay, Tristan, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Tristan, Dan with Dano's Realty. How you been, man?
Hey, Dan, it's been a while. How are you?
Thank you, man. It has been a while. Sorry it's been so long. What I'm doing today is really just doing an outreach to my past customers just to check on them and ask a simple question. How has COVID affected you and your family over the last year?
Oh, that's a great question. It's definitely changed our perspective about a lot of things, but
Now we can have some good intimate conversation right there.
Yeah.
I've made you the hero of the conversation. I'm going to be empathetic in your eyes that I cared enough. I didn't call and say, hey, do you have any business for me? I called to say, hey, I'm just checking on all my clients, making sure they're okay.
Mhm.
And you tell me, Tristan, what is the percent chance that if you're in my sphere and I talked about you first, about how COVID affected you and your family, what is the percent chance you'll ask me how my business is doing?
Oh, dude, it's natural. That's the natural progression because now that you care about me, well, I want to do the polite thing and ask how you're doing and your business is doing.
So go ahead and ask me and I'll show you and pay attention out there, folks. So ask me, how's my business doing?
Dan, well, dude, we're doing great. Thanks for the call. How are you guys doing with business?
Tristan, we've been blessed, man, with the stimulus money and all. It's driven the interest rates to the lowest levels ever. And it's just booming. I just have one problem, with all the people wanting to move into our community, there's just not enough homes for them. You know what? Maybe you can give me a hand there. Who do you know right now in your sphere that might be thinking of selling?
I'd have to think about that, but I know we've heard people talk about possibly moving with this crazy market. So I'll think about it and let you know. I love that pivot, man.
Now, then I have one more question before we hang up. Hey, Tristan, I hope I'm still your go-to guy for real estate. How about you? When's your next real estate transaction?
Probably not until next year, but
What are you thinking about?
could be sooner. Looking at probably moving into a larger home, maybe with a guest house type thing. Just
Cool, man.
thinking ahead, but we'll see.
Hey, well, that's awesome. Hey, well, let me just ask, would there be any value in, in you getting some details on the market just so you can start taking a peek and maybe, getting the information necessary to make some good decisions?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in seeing where my house is valued at.
You know what? I'm going to be in the neighborhood over the weekend. Which one do you have more time, on Saturday or Sunday?
What's a little easier? Probably Saturday morning.
You know what? That's perfect. Would 10 a.m. work for you?
Yeah, just stop by, man. Nothing
Great,
formal.
man.
Just knock. We'll let you in.
Now, here's the thing. What we just did there can be a conversation done right, not a sales pitch. And it began with empathy. It began with me asking just simply, how are you doing? You then asking, how am I doing? And I've got two key questions. If you guys picked up on it, maybe you can help. Who do you know? And, oh, by the way, I hope I'm still your go-to person in real estate. When's your next real estate transaction?
Dude, that was good.
I asked those two questions of 300 people in my sphere. I promise you'll probably step away with more opportunities than you can handle on the list side of business instead of the buyer side of the business.
I like that, man. Very, very, very soft, and you allow me just to connect with you a little deeper. I love that. Great job.
Thank you, sir.
So tell me the long-term follow-up with my sphere here. How does this look? Because you seem to be focused on your core sphere, your past clients, because you understand that if you want longevity in this business, it revolves around that, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
How do you make sure that the nurtures happen? Because that's where a lot of agents, me included, when I first started for like the first 10 years.
Most of us did. Exactly.
You suck at it, dude. So
exactly.
help us.
Well, it goes back to disciplines. Another, key thing we have at the training academy, we would call it self-management instead of time management or activity management. Self-management has a lot other components to it than just time management and activity management. And in self-management is the techniques and the skill sets around the self-discipline to not allow shiny objects to get in the way, to be able to be very planned and disciplined in, like I said, give me an hour a day, 5 days a week. And by the way, I don't want you to work more than 5 days. People always go, you have to. I go, no, you don't. I mean, to this day, I have thousands and thousands of agents that have been trained through our company or coached through our company that I can call today. Just before the pandemic, we were running pretty hot. I was in Texas and I called two ladies that I have trained and coached for 15, 18 years. And I said, hey, sorry I didn't give you a heads up, but I'm in town. And they go, no problem. Let's play golf. I've got two people doing 20 plus million each who dropped everything and played golf. And that's because they're in control of their business. Because I asked them, I said, how were you able to drop everything? And they go, bite your tongue. Of course we know how to do it. We know how to run our business. Well, that's having very clear understanding of what your responsibilities are every day, just like a real job. What do I have to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? What are my 2 days off? It's probably not going to be Saturday and Sunday in real estate. After I sold my company and I went back to selling, I took half a Saturday off and all of Sunday off and half of Wednesday off. Mm-hmm. And people are like, well, what'd you do for open houses? I said, I was different. I held them on Saturday. And they're like, oh. And they go, well, what did you do on Sunday? I said, only one thing got me off my boat or out of my chair on Sunday. And that was an offer on one of my listings. But what if a buyer called and said, I'd say to the buyer, I'm sorry, I'm already committed. Would you have some time to meet with me on this day, or is that day better? The more that I played, and here's another, again, training academy SWAT thing. I'm the doctor, you're the patient. Never forget that. When we give away the doctor position, we now have we've got a novice telling the pro how to do business. I know how to do the business. I know how to create an exceptional experience. I know how to make sure things go smoothly and get to the finish line. I can't rely on you who've done it once or twice in your life to tell me how to run my business and hopefully be successful at it. And then again, fear of loss comes in. People tell me, Dan, you can't do that. They'll go somewhere else. And I always go, the people that go somewhere else in my world are the people I didn't want anyway. But the people that want a pro line up. I mean, Tristan, I haven't worked my sphere in years because I'm a consultant. I get calls all the time still to this day. And I stopped actively working my sphere a decade ago. They're not calling me because I was mean, rotten, terrible person. They're calling me because they knew I'm a pro and I can get the job done. But that takes a lot of confidence in an agent to have those skills mastered, having those winning differences in place to be able to do that.
Dude, I love that. I love that. Andrew, anything you want to add from working with thousands of people through REDX? Because I agree with what Dan is saying, because you guys have a lot of people that call in and use REDX, not only for their past clients in Sphere, because we can upload the list, but also for expireds and for sell by owners, geo prospecting, for rent by owners, dude, the list goes on, but you get it. Right. What other tactics have you seen work at a high level?
Well, I think, and we've been doing some supplemental training with some brokerages and things. And the most common thing we hear from agents is that, I subscribed to REDX and it didn't work. And then we ask, okay, well, how long did you stick with it? How long did you give that habit to form and solidify? You guys are here saying, well, it took me 10 years to really get the ball rolling and really get things going. And they're like, oh, I did it for a month. Maybe a month. Usually it's like 2 weeks and I just didn't get any listings. And so I gave up. And that's where you really have to give it the time and you really have to give it the effort and form that habit, because if you don't, then you're going to end up like, whatever the tremendous amount of real estate agents are that quit within their first year because they just can't commit.
That's very true, man. Very true. All right, Dan, what else are you seeing is working besides calling your sphere consistently with that message, right? Okay. And your past clients, of course. Anything else that stands out? Because this is an extremely competitive market and listings are obviously the way to go right now.
Well, two things. Honing your skills at differentiating at the table, first of all, because you don't want to be commoditized. You don't want to lose the opportunity. You want to be first in also. So those are important. But it's, going back to old school things that are important to keep business going. So let's say we take a listing. In the old days, every time I took a listing, I put 200 out, 200 just listed out. If it went under sold, 200 just sold, went out. I'd walk 25 of them every time, 25. Hey, just want to let you know, Andrew's house is going up for sale. If you got a friend who wants to live in the neighborhood, let me know. When I sold it, I got permission from the buyer agents people. Is it okay if I introduce you to the marketplace? And I'd walk around and say, hey, Tammy and Tom are here with their twin daughters. Please welcome them to the community. I just want to let you know the home is sold. Those things always brought me additional business, along with the 175 that I'd mail and the 25 I'd hand out. Proper way to hold an open house. There's the right way and the wrong way to do an open house. If I do that every time I have one, I'll get business. The other thing is getting canvassing. If you're in a market where you're not allowed to go outside still and canvass, you can canvass in other ways. I can canvass with, if you send postcards, you know what? People hate, I'm going to say this. If you're using social media in a passive way only, you're missing out. Social media has a uniqueness to it where people will talk about things that they won't say out loud in front of a friend, but they'll say them on social media. So if I treat my social media as intel gathering, I know why. The National Association of Realtors tells us why people sell their house. Top 5 reasons: job move closer to family, house too small, closer to my job site. There's always 5 every year. There's 5 top reasons people are listing their homes. Well, I can wake up in the morning. Part of my prospecting is go hit 10 personal pages of people on my social media and read what they've done. Don't wait to see it in my newsfeed. Go direct to their site. And who knows? I had a SWAT agent, report to us. She was doing this, and one of her friends had posted, "Yay, empty nester." And she didn't see it in the news feed. She saw it because she went to her homepage. Well, she said 3 or 4 agents tried to list her over the social media going, "If I can be of help, let me know." My SWAT agent called her up, took her to breakfast, talked about her post, and got the listing. We have to do the right things, which is human resource. It's us. And I think we've gotten so digital and so concerned with how can I do this for free and easy, that there's a huge market for continued business if we will just use these things to identify opportunity and then use our skills to get next to people and talk to them.
Dan, to your earlier point of how are you differentiating yourself, that's perfect. If everyone's staying digital, get there in person, have that conversation in person.
Exactly. And we're so much better in person. But I go back, guys, to that complement of skills. Do I know how to ask the right questions? Do I know how to do a value proposition over a feature dump on somebody? Can I create in their mind a retention of my value that they can share with others and create a raving fan? Or am I just one transaction at a time? So many people, I've got this thing, the cycle of life, where I have business development as a circle, servicing the business, and then contract to close. And I show people how when you don't have the complement of skills, you start it up, you get to the servicing, you get your offer, you get it closed, you come out the other side, you feel like you're out of business because nothing's going on. There is a manner and a method to running a small business as a real estate professional. And I embrace these times, guys. I think that there is more opportunity in these hot markets about to transition. I truly believe, the free money ain't going to go forever. The rates are going to creep up. There's going to be a little rotation in the marketplace. And when that happens, the people that are not skilled will get scared. I always believed in the 30 plus years, every time there was a rotation in the market, I ended up doing more business in the rotation when everyone was scared than when everyone was thinking this is easy. So I just think the opportunity is huge right now.
That's important that you said that. So I have a comment and then I have a question for you. First is, most of the money and wealth is created in transition,
Yes.
right? That you see.
Yes.
And that's so key for people to understand that, because that's where opportunity, everybody's kind of like waiting and watching, while Dan, you teach people to have a process and system so they know how to react quicker, right? I think that's important. That's really important. And the question that I have for you is, the world that we're living in as real estate agents right now is pretty emotionally draining. And I see it with part of my team, right? But I do my best to keep them going. And it can really be a night and day difference on your attitude over the week, and it can affect your family life. It can affect you, your health. How do you suggest that agents continue to stay focused so that they don't have these draining days and wish that they weren't real estate agents? Because you have both types.
We do. Yep. Well, it's two prongs for me. First is I'm a big believer that the first place I always look is in the mirror. So when I'm drained or something goes south or something goes wrong, the first place I'm looking is in the mirror. What did I forget to do? What process did I mess up? If I go backwards, like, vetting skills of asking questions, I'll go back to my initial sheet that has my questions on it and go, should I have asked a question that I didn't? And so one way is to not repeat the mistakes and the challenges. That's the big one, Tristan. The second one is believe in the fact that stress and challenges occur and expect them. I literally expect to have stress in my life. I don't try to not have it. And I got to tell you, that was one of the biggest breakthroughs for me is whenever I'm feeling stressed, I just simply say, that is my body telling me there's something I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not doing. And if you really think about when you're stressed, you can usually bring it back to something and go, I said I was going to do this, or I was planning on doing this. I was going to start hitting my sphere. Well, our brain, it doesn't forget what we think about doing, and it reminds us through stress. So I expect to be stressed. I expect to be challenged, but then I'm going to just do a quick postmortem and go, what didn't I do? Why is it doing this to me? So I look backwards first to not repeat the mistakes, and I expect some stress in my life. And when I do that, and plus I keep a balance of, I call it my three healths, personal, family, and business. I got to keep those three healthy. Personal being mind, body, and spirit. Family being my bride and my kids and my close personal friends. And business being how I make a living. And I got to keep always two of those healthy. Because if two of them get unhealthy, they'll cannibalize the third. So I'm going to keep two of them healthy. My wife is the greatest thing in my life. She knows it. I support her 100%. She supports me. So I always go home to a smile and a hug and a support. I wake up, I do yoga, I do things, to make sure I stay somewhat physically fit. So that allows me to always be working on my business from that emotional standpoint. And then again, not repeating the same mistakes and blaming others, and then accepting the fact stress does exist and it doesn't go away. It's just something you have to learn to manage, not freak out over, if you will.
I love that.
Andrew, anything you want to add on that, man? I love that part where he said, anticipating that you're going to have problems and just realizing, hey, it's part of it. Let's go through it.
No, I think Dan said it all. I love that. I love to expect stress and use it as fuel to keep going. It's fantastic.
I love that, Dan. All right, Dan, where can we get a hold of you if we want to hire you, if we want to take a look at more of what you do? We know where to get a hold of REDX. That's easy. But how about you?
Well, two things. That you brought that up. Since we talked about skills, literally, I just got done in the studio with our latest real estate SWAT school program. It's an 8-week space learning program. It will probably go live in 2 weeks. And our website is, you can go to danelzer.com. It will forward you into our website. You can do, if you want to send an email for some reason, if you did SWAT@danelzer.com, you'll probably get one of my people. Judy O'Brien's my VP of operations. She runs the place. So SWAT@danelzer.com, or go to danelzer.com and you reach out to us through the contact links in our site. But the SWAT, the real estate SWAT school, SWAT on Demand, will be available if everything goes right 2 weeks from this Friday. And it's just an amazing program, Tristan. For anybody that doesn't have those complement of skills that we're talking about, it's going to be 2.5 hours of your life a week to learn. And then you go out and I give you an assignment basically to go out and execute on, to make sure you're getting all those skills in the order, you're working your sphere, you're making things happen. So that would be my best offer out to the group. And REDX is included in that, by the way, guys. I truly believe in that. So
awesome.
I love that. All right, Andrew, anything I missed that you wanted to bring up, or are we good?
No, I think we're good. Just a reminder to everyone that we've got a special offer for Lab Coat agents. So if you sign up today through the link that we've got in the chat there, you'll save $150 on the setup fee. So it's awesome.
There you go.
I like it.
Or sign up with Dan's program and you'll get it. It's great.
Dan, keep on doing amazing things out there and helping out agents. We need it. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, it was an honor, man. If I can ever be of help, reach out, man. I enjoyed it.
Definitely. I definitely will reach out. So thank you. Thank you for doing this. And Andrew, thanks for putting this together, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem.
Good to see you, Andrew.
Good to see you.
Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, guys.
You.
Be well.